Okay, now we're going to report to you news and views, developments in Asia, in the world, in relation to the Philippines, of course. The first one, of course, shocks me as much as it shocks the South Korean President Moon. And this is because of the extra number of defense missiles in the THAAD program, the Terminal High Altitude Aerial Defense, controversial missiles that the United States is installing in South Korea. Instead of the agreed numbers, the Americans have been slipping through additional missile defense assets or missiles. And from the last report that we have received from international media, the Americans have slipped through the South Korean authorities for additional missile installations. Now, I think this marks a very worrying attitude of the Americans with regards to Asian security. And for some analysts, this indicates the attempt of the U.S. to prepare for a first strike against North Korea, which I am sure all of us in Asia, would not want to see happen. China has been making all efforts to resolve this by negotiations and persuasion, and China has advised the United States and North Korea to sit down again and talk and resolve these issues peacefully and in a civilized fashion. However, we must be as concerned about the intentions of the United States as well as of North Korea, and this atmosphere of suspicion, which is not helped at all by this attempted additional insertion of missile defense systems by the United States right under the nose of the new South Korean president. So let us keep that in mind and let us monitor what's happening. The South Korean president has ordered an investigation of this, and pressure must be brought on the United States government to stop this aggressive approach to the issue of peace between South and North Korea. Let's move on to the second item. In the past 2 weeks, we have, in at least 2 episodes of our journeys, exposed the false news, fake histories that some of our mainstream media have been publishing and airing. And one of these fake news and false histories in particular is sourced from this individual, Anders Kor, A-N-D-E-R, Kor, A-N-D-E-R-S-C-O-R-R. This Anders Kor was quoted to say that Chinese loans will cost 10 to 15% in interest rates, which is absolutely false and ridiculous. However, several Philippine media still projected this. Now, let us go to the background of Anders Kor again. Anders Kor is a PhD, he's brilliant, but he is an American intel operator, intelligence operator. He is an associate of Booz Allen and Hamilton. Booz Allen and Hamilton has been reported by Bloomberg itself as the most profitable private spy organization, and almost all its contracts are with the U.S. defense establishment and the U.S. military. Now it is good, the Philippine Treasury Secretary, Secretary Diokno, has appeared in the Manila Bay Media Forum, or Kapihan, and categorically denied that the interest rates in these projects with China will be 10 or 15%. He debunked this. You can read this report in the editorial of the Malaya of June 2nd, Building Bridges, and it is stated there that Diokno categorically debunked this claim. And Diokno confirms our report of the past 2 weeks that the maximum interest rates here will be between 2 to 3.5 or 4%. These are development loans, concessional loans. These loans are not meant to create deficits, but to create the productivity to allow the country to repay loans from a history of 40 years that have built up, and because the past loans were just budgetary support, deficit payments, loan payments, loans for loan payments, and so on, it was never for productivity. But now the Philippine-China projects are for productivity, for infrastructure, for industry, for energy, for irrigation. This will allow us to repay debts and not entrap us in debt, not put us in bondage, not enslave us. So it is understandable that the United States would not want us to gain this productive cooperation with China. So it is up to us to guard against this information. And we lament Philippine mainstream media who carry the disinformation from these sources. Okay, let's look at the next item in our news and views. Well, did we review all the clippings, news clippings that we actually prepared for this segment, this report on the false news? Let us show the column of Conrad Banal, who has approvingly written of this Philippines-China projects under the humorous title, The Lone Arranger. So we praise Conrad Banal for his column, and more especially the column of Mauro Samonte from the Manila Times. I think this was dated June 2nd also. The One Belt, One Road makes China harbinger for world peace. Because development is peace. That is also the statement quoted by several of our media people from our media forum at the Kapihan, the Kamuning Bakery Kapihan and Media Forum just last week. And that is a slogan that is good to remember. Development is peace. And these loans and projects we have with China is for development. By the way, Diokno in that forum stressed on the two bridge projects that are grants, no interest rates, no interest charged, for the bridges across Binondo and Intramuros and across Loton to Barrio Capitolio in Pasig to alleviate the pressure on the Guadalupe Bridge. Okay, and Philippine-China cooperation has produced a lot of great things for both countries, but also especially for the Philippines. Here's the report: 600 kilograms drug bust from Philippine-China cooperation. Let's show the report. And in the past years, we always get this black propaganda about China being the source of this and that, illegal drugs and so on. But that is because we had no coordination and communication with China. China is a country that is harshest on the violation of drug laws in its own country. But in the Philippines, we have this rampant problem. And now with President Duterte's cooperation with China, we are seeing results immediately. There is a lot of cooperative endeavors between the Philippines and China, Coast Guard cooperation, Coast Guard training, and so on. And these cooperation may hopefully extend to patrols of Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and China in the seas that these elements, subversive elements such as the Maute Gang, such as those terrorists now in Marawi have been using. So let's hope we can see that in the coming months come to fruition. And finally, I think we have a minute or two, so we can still put this in. The European Union and the G7 with the United States had seen fit to interfere in Asian affairs when the G7 itself is plagued with division. And the reports, of course, have come out that Trump has declined to be part of the climate change program of the G7. And some Western analysts are calling for the scrapping of the G7. And of course, they have the time to interfere in Asia when they can't get their own house in order. China slammed the G7 for interfering in the South China Sea dispute. And the truth is, ASEAN and China has been fixing these problems peacefully, in friendly and even fraternal manner. China, ASEAN come to agreement on a framework on the China Sea Code of Conduct. What more do we need to do when we are agreeing on how everyone will behave so that conflicts and tension is avoided? So let us have faith in ASEAN, China, and the Asian fraternal spirit. That is about what we have for this week. And stay on for our Philippine-China focus. And the focus is the retracing of the travel of the Sultan of Sulu, Paduka Batara, to China 600 years ago. That was following the mission of the Kingdom of Butuan under Raja Kiling in the year 1003. So we have had more than 1,000 years of relations with China, never an invasion of China of the Philippines, and so we are now resuming that brotherhood with China in Asia. Okay, let's take this break.